It started with a secret I tried to bury so deep that even daylight felt dangerous. I never thought one mistake would make everything unravel. But the day Lucas found that notebook, the one I should have burned years ago, my life split in two. Ethan Walker Thompson. That was the name printed on my employee badge, hanging from my shirt like a tag declaring who I was supposed to be. Smart, reliable, quiet. The perfect assistant for someone like Lucas Hartman, a rising star in our tech firm whose charm could make an entire room fall silent in admiration. He had that confident stride, like every floor he walked on belonged to him. And whenever he passed near my desk, my heart beat traitorously loud, screaming truths I could never admit. I never expected him to notice me, not like that, not in any way that mattered. But what do you do when the person you admire most discovers the part of you you've spent your whole life trying to hide? It happened on a Thursday morning, one of those days when the sun was too bright and the world demanded more of you than you felt capable of giving. I arrived earlier than usual, hoping quiet would help me finish a proposal we were presenting for a colossal client. I spilled my bag rushing up the stairs, papers sliding across the floor. I shoved everything inside, thinking nothing of it. Everything except the notebook. That notebook was my heart disguised in ink. Pages filled with words I'd never spoken, feelings I'd never dared to express, a confession nobody should ever read. I always kept it in a locked drawer, hidden behind office supplies and useless cables. But in my panic that morning, I must have left it behind. I didn't realize it was gone until I saw Lucas standing at my desk, holding something small and familiar in his hand. His brows were knit together, his eyes lowered, reading a page like he'd stumbled into a world he wasn't supposed to enter. Time stopped. I felt the blood drain from my face. Every breath caught in my throat like I was drowning on air. Something icy crawled down my spine. That notebook wasn't just a journal. It was a confession. Every entry was about him. I froze inches from my desk. Lucas looked up slowly, blinking like he'd woken from a vivid dream. He didn't speak. He just held the notebook, his thumb marking the page he'd been reading. My handwriting stared back at me like a spotlight I couldn't escape. "Ethan," he said, his voice soft but heavy with meaning. "What is this?" My throat tightened. I didn't know which answer hurt less, the truth or a lie. I stepped closer, my hands trembling. "Please don't." My voice cracked. "It's nothing. Just give it back." Lucas didn't move. He looked at me not with judgment, but something like confusion, surprise, maybe even sorrow. "Why did you write this?" he asked quietly. I couldn't look at him, couldn't face the reflection of everything I'd never dared to speak. Heat rushed up my neck. My lungs burned. I'd never felt so exposed, like someone had peeled back every layer I had ever used to hide myself. "It's complicated," I whispered. I could feel his eyes tracing every line of fear across my face. He closed the notebook slowly, holding it carefully in both hands, like he recognized its fragile importance. "Ethan, talk to me." There was kindness in his tone, but I was terrified. Terrified of what honesty might destroy. Terrified that everything would change, and most of all terrified that he'd walk away once he knew the truth. I reached out, snatching the notebook from his hands, my fingers brushing his skin. Electricity ran between us. I dropped my gaze as I clutched the notebook against my chest like armor. "I'm sorry," I mumbled. "I shouldn't have written any of it. I know it's wrong." His quiet voice surprised me. "Wrong? No, Ethan. It's not wrong." I looked up, stunned. He stepped closer. "You don't have to apologize for how you feel." My heart hammered so hard it hurt. I wanted to disappear, to become nothing more than the silent assistant I'd always been. Emotions weren't my strength. Hiding was. But Lucas's eyes held me still. He wasn't angry. He wasn't disgusted. He was just searching. He nodded gently toward the glass-walled conference room. "Come talk to me, please." I hesitated. I was afraid of him, of myself, of what the world would look like if I let the truth breathe. Still, I followed. Inside the room, light spilled across the long table where we'd spent hours building the future of our company. Now it felt like a courtroom and I was the defendant. Lucas sat across from me, folding his hands. I saw a calm in him, steady and patient, the kind of calm that once made me admire him from afar. Now it felt like a lifeline I didn't know how to grasp. "Tell me when it started," he said. I swallowed hard. My palms were sweating. I stared at the notebook on the table, afraid even to touch it. "I don't know," I whispered. "Maybe the first time you smiled at me." Lucas leaned back, his expression unreadable. "I know it's stupid," I rushed on. "You're my boss, and you. Everyone loves you. I admired you. Too much." Admired. The word felt small. What I felt for him wasn't light or easy. It was the kind of feeling that haunted quiet nights, that made simple moments feel monumental. A glance, a laugh, a shared cup of coffee. Everything felt dangerous and precious, like I was walking blindfolded on a wire. "I didn't choose this," I said, my voice raw. "If I could stop feeling it, I would. I know it makes things complicated. I know you probably think I'm a joke. But I swear, I never wanted to make you uncomfortable. I never wanted you to know." Lucas stayed silent for a long time. Too long. The tick of the conference room clock echoed like a warning. My chest tightened. Then he spoke. "Ethan," he said softly, "I never thought of you like that. But I'm not upset. I'm not angry." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I'm just surprised and honored." I blinked. Honored. I wasn't expecting that. Not from him. He nodded. "You're an amazing person. Kind, hardworking, thoughtful. I always saw that. But I had no idea you were carrying something like this." I stared at him. Something inside me uncoiled, slow and hesitant. "I was afraid you'd fire me," I admitted. He shook his head. "Never. You're one of the best people in this company, and you're allowed to feel however you feel." His voice softened even more. "But I need you to know something. I'm not sure what this means for us. I'm not sure how to process it yet." A cold flicker of disappointment crept through me. I nodded. "I understand." Lucas sighed, looking out the window for a moment. Sunlight brushed his face, highlighting the gentle worry etched across his features. When he turned back to me, his gaze was steady. "I care about you, Ethan, more than you know, but I need time to figure out what this is." Something shifted in the space between us. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't acceptance. It was possibility, uncertain and fragile. And that scared me more than anything. I stood slowly, holding the notebook tight. I should get back to work. He didn't stop me, but as I reached the door, he spoke again. "Ethan." I turned. "I'm glad I found it," he said simply. The weight of those words lingered long after I walked out. The days that followed felt like living with my heart in my hands. Lucas treated me the same but different, softer somehow, more attentive. He'd pause when speaking to me, like he was measuring something invisible. He'd ask how I was, not in a casual way but like he really needed to know. Every small moment pulsed with unspoken tension. One afternoon, we stayed late finalizing a pitch. The office was quiet, just the hum of computers and the soft glow of desk lamps. I leaned back in my chair, exhausted. Lucas looked up, watching me with a small smile. "You ever think about who you might be if you weren't afraid?" he asked. The question hit me like a slow, heavy wave. I didn't know how to answer. Fear had shaped my life for so long that imagining myself without it felt impossible. Eventually, I said softly, "I think I'd be freer." Lucas nodded. "Then maybe that's the person I want to get to know." The world went silent. He wasn't teasing. He wasn't being polite. He meant every word. My heart stuttered painfully. Lucas stood, moving closer, his expression serious. He leaned against the table next to me, his body warm, close enough that I could feel the electricity between us. "I don't know where this goes," he said, "but I'm not afraid to find out. If you'll let me." I searched his eyes, looking for hesitation, doubt, anything that would tell me I was misunderstanding. But all I found was honesty. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. "Okay," I whispered. His smile deepened, slow and cautious but full of promise. "Okay." In that moment I realized something. Sometimes the secrets we guard the most aren't meant to be hidden. Sometimes they're waiting to be found by the right person. The person who won't turn away. The person who looks at you differently not because they're afraid of what they see, but because they finally see you. And maybe, just maybe, that changes everything. I never imagined life could change so subtly, like a door opening without a sound. But over the next few weeks, Lucas and I entered a strange limbo somewhere between what we were and what we could be. Some mornings he brought coffee to my desk, placing it gently beside my keyboard without a word, but with a soft smile that lingered long enough to make my chest tighten. At meetings, I caught him watching me, not with the impersonal attention of a boss, but with something deeper, heavier, like he was trying to read the truth beneath my expression. And every day, the notebook stayed hidden in my drawer. I hadn't opened it once since that morning. I didn't know if I feared what I had written or if I feared what new thoughts might spill across the page. One night, I left the office later than usual. Outside, the city pulsed with life, neon lights flickering over wet asphalt, car horns blending with distant music, everything alive and electric. I walked alone toward the train station, the cold wind nipping at my cheeks. Just before I reached the stairs, I heard someone call my name. "Ethan." I turned. Lucas jogged toward me, slightly out of breath, his blonde hair tousled, his eyes reflecting the city lights. "You left in a hurry," he said. "Everything okay?" I nodded, though it was only half true. "Just tired." He studied me, concern etched into his face. "You've seemed distant." I shrugged, unsure how to explain the thoughts circling my head like restless birds. "It's a lot." Lucas leaned against the railing beside me, his gaze steady. "I meant what I said. I'm not afraid to figure this out." The wind carried his words like a quiet promise. I swallowed hard. "I know. I've spent so long hiding who I am that I don't know how to stop." His voice softened. "You don't have to know. You just have to start." For a moment I didn't speak. The city rushed around us, strangers passing, headlights streaking. But in the middle of all that noise, I felt strangely safe. "Walk with me?" he asked. I hesitated. Then I nodded. We wandered through the city without direction, talking about small things. Coffee shops he loved, books I read, the silly cat his sister kept that terrorized her apartment. The simplicity of it soothed something inside me. Finally, we stopped at a quiet park. The branches swayed overhead as we sat on a wooden bench, side by side, our shoulders almost touching. Lucas tilted his head, looking at me with gentle curiosity. "Can I ask something personal?" I tensed. "Depends on what. When did you realize about yourself?" I exhaled slowly. That question always carried weight. "I think I always knew," I said, "but I didn't let myself accept it until college. Even then, I never told anyone. I thought if I ignored it hard enough, it might disappear." Lucas nodded thoughtfully. "And did it?" "No," a humorless laugh escaped me. "It just hurt more." His eyes softened. "You don't deserve to hurt for who you are." I looked down at my hands, fingers curling in my lap. "Maybe, but some people don't see it that way. Then they're wrong." His certainty startled me. He leaned forward slightly. "You're brave, Ethan. Braver than you think." I scoffed. "I'm terrified." "Bravery isn't the absence of fear," he said quietly. "It's choosing to move anyway." His words settled inside me like a slow-burning flame. I didn't know how long we sat there, minutes, maybe hours, but eventually the cold seeped through my jacket, and we stood to leave. At the train station entrance, Lucas paused. "Ethan." I looked up. "I'm glad you told me the truth." I swallowed. "I didn't tell you. You found it." He smiled faintly. Maybe I was meant to. Something in his eyes made my breath stop. Warmth. Hope. A flicker of something deeper. I boarded the train, and as the doors closed, he stayed on the platform, watching me disappear. That night, I opened the notebook again. My pen hovered over the page. Instead of writing about fear, I wrote about possibility. About him. About change I never thought would come. The next days felt different, lighter yet still uncertain. Then everything shifted again. We were in the middle of a team meeting when our CEO walked in unexpectedly. His arrival always sent a ripple of tension through the room. His standards were sky high, his expectations razor sharp. "Good afternoon," he greeted, scanning the room. His gaze landed on Lucas. "Lucas, I heard you're preparing the Hartfield pitch." Lucas nodded confidently. "We are, sir. I want to see a full draft tomorrow morning." Tomorrow. My stomach dropped. We weren't ready. We still had major revisions to finish. But Lucas simply replied, "Understood." After the meeting, he pulled me aside. "We'll stay late," he said. "Just you and me." My pulse quickened, half from anxiety, half from something far more dangerous. We worked for hours, diving into market research, refining proposals, adjusting risk assessments. The office grew quiet as people trickled out one by one until only we remained. At some point, Lucas sighed and stretched, his shirt pulling just enough to reveal a hint of skin. I looked away quickly, heat crawling up my neck. He noticed. A small smile curved his lips. "You okay?" "Yeah," I muttered too quickly. He chuckled, the sound warm and low. "You're a terrible liar." I glared half-heartedly. "You're distracting." His smile faltered, then softened. "Is that a good thing?" My breath caught. "I don't know yet." Silence stretched between us, thick with something unnamed. Then suddenly the lights flickered and went out. Darkness swallowed the room. I jolted. "Probably a breaker," Lucas said calmly. "Hold on." I heard him stand, his footsteps echoing. A second later, soft emergency lights turned on, painting the office in dim blue. When he returned, his face looked different, serious, almost vulnerable. "Ethan," he said quietly, "I've been thinking about us." My heart stuttered. "Us?" "Yes." He sat beside me, closer than he'd ever been. His knee brushed mine, sending sparks up my spine. "I told you I needed time," he said, "and I've spent every day trying to understand what I feel." I swallowed hard. "And," he exhaled slowly, "you matter to me, more than I expected, more than I know how to handle." I froze, afraid to breathe. "But I don't want to lead you somewhere I can't follow," he continued. "I care deeply. I'm just unsure of what that means." The words weren't rejection, but they weren't a promise either. I looked down. "Uncertainty is better than indifference." He nodded. "I'm trying, Ethan." His honesty was raw enough to make my chest ache. We kept working, though concentration felt impossible. Every time his hand brushed mine, every time our eyes met, I felt that same electric pull. Around midnight, he leaned back and sighed. "Let's call it a night." We gathered our things. As we walked to the door, rain hammered the windows. Outside, the storm blurred the city lights into streaks of gold. "You drove, right?" he asked. I shook my head. "Train." He frowned. "Not tonight. I'll drive you." I didn't argue. The rain was too heavy. During the drive, neither of us spoke. The storm raged around us, but in the car, it felt strangely intimate. The quiet hum of the engine, the rhythm of raindrops, the soft glow of dashboard lights. When we pulled up to my building, I hesitated. "Thank you," I said. Lucas nodded. "Text me when you're inside." I reached for the handle, then I stopped. "Lucas." "Yeah." I turned to him, Whatever this is, I'm grateful for it. His expression softened. Me too. Something shifted then. Small, almost invisible. Like a first step towards something neither of us could name yet. I stepped into the rain, sprinted to the entrance, then turned back. Lucas waited, watching until I disappeared inside. When I got to my apartment, I texted him. Made it. His reply came seconds later. Good. Sleep well. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Then I saved it. That night, I dreamed of sunlight on glass, the warmth of his smile, and a future I'd never dared imagine before. The next morning brought new storms, but not the kind falling from the sky. It started when I walked into the break room and saw two coworkers whispering, eyes flicking toward me with something sharp and ugly. I froze. One of them smirked. "Morning, Ethan." The tone cut like a blade. I didn't respond. I poured my coffee, hands steady though my chest tightened. Then I saw it, a page printed and taped to the bulletin board. My handwriting. Paragraph from my notebook. My blood ran cold. Someone had copied it, the lines about Lucas, about feelings I'd kept hidden. My confession exposed for anyone to read. My vision blurred. Someone laughed softly behind me. "Didn't know you liked the boss that much." Heat exploded in my chest. Fear, humiliation, rage. I ripped the page down, crumpling it in my fist. I didn't know who had done it. I only knew one thing. Someone wanted to destroy me. And Lucas didn't know. Yet. I walked out, shaking, praying that this nightmare wouldn't spread, that it wouldn't reach him. But deep down I already knew. It was too late. I rushed back to my desk, my pulse hammering against my ribs. The crumpled page in my hand felt radioactive, burning my skin. Every step echoed with panic, like the whole office was watching, whispering, judging. I dropped into my chair, forcing myself to breathe. Slow, deep, controlled. But control was gone. Someone had found my notebook. Someone had copied from it. Someone wanted everyone to know. My phone buzzed. A message from Lucas. "Can you come to my office when you get a moment?" My chest tightened. Had he seen it already? Had someone told him? Was he angry? Was he disappointed? I typed back. "On my way." My legs felt stiff as I walked down the hallway. I could feel eyes following me, glances too quick to be casual. Every step was like walking deeper into a storm. When I reached his door, I hesitated. Then I knocked softly. "Come in." His voice was calm, too calm. I pushed the door open. Lucas sat behind his desk, but the usual warmth in his expression was replaced with something sharper, something controlled. He gestured to the chair across from him. "Close the door." My heart dropped. I did as he asked and sat. The silence stretched. Finally, he spoke. "I saw something posted in the break room this morning." I swallowed hard. I could not meet his eyes. "I assume you know what I'm talking about." I nodded, my fingers digging into my palms. I wanted to disappear. He leaned forward slightly. "Do you know who did it?" "No." My voice came out barely above a whisper. Shame crawled through me like a living thing. Lucas studied me carefully, his gaze searching for answers I didn't have. "Did you leave your notebook out again?" "No. I keep it locked away now. I don't know how anyone got to it." He sat back, exhaling slowly. The muscles in his jaw tightened. He wasn't angry at me. He was angry for me, but that didn't make the situation any less terrifying. I took a shaky breath. What should I do? Lucas considered this, fingers tapping lightly against his desk. First, we need to remove anything else that might be circulating. I already took down the copy I saw, but who knows if someone shared it digitally. My stomach twisted. You saw it. His eyes softened faintly. Yes. And for the record, those words were beautiful, vulnerable, honest. Heat rose to my face. Of all the ways I imagined him reading my feelings, this moment wasn't one of them. But he continued, voice steady. That honesty deserves respect, not ridicule. I opened my mouth, then closed it. The words lodged in my throat. Lucas stood and circled around his desk, leaning against the edge near me. He folded his arms, watching me like he was trying to hold the pieces of me together. I'm going to handle the internal issue. He'll talk to HR. This is harassment. It won't be tolerated. The word harassment felt heavy, real. I shook my head quickly. No, I don't want to make this worse. His brow furrowed. Ethan, someone invaded your privacy and tried to humiliate you. You shouldn't protect them. I pressed my hands against my knees to stop them trembling. If we make a scene, everyone will talk more. They'll know it's true. Lucas paused, then crouched down so he was eye level with me. Everyone knowing the truth isn't the problem. The problem is the cruelty, and I won't let that continue. I swallowed. His certainty was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. He straightened again. I want you to take the rest of the day off. It'll keep you updated. I stared at him, surprised. I'm fine, I said. I can work. He shook his head. You're not fine, and pretending you are won't help. His voice softened. Go home, breathe. They'll take care of things here. I hesitated. Leaving felt like giving power to whoever did this, but staying felt impossible. Okay, I murmured. Lucas walked me to the elevator. He didn't hover, didn't try to make small talk. He simply stayed beside me, a quiet presence that made the world feel less threatening. When the elevator doors opened, he placed a hand lightly on my shoulder. Warm, steady. You're not alone. Something inside me cracked, but before I could respond, the doors slid shut. The ride down felt endless. When I stepped outside, the morning air hit me hard, cool, sharp. I stood on the sidewalk, unsure where to go. Home felt too quiet, too isolating. My phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Did you think nobody would find out? I froze. Another message followed. Pathetic. My lungs tightened. Then another. Everyone knows. Good luck coming back.